Welcome back to Hoops HD, everybody.
Woohoo!
It is the season finale of Championship Week Video Notebook, day number 13. Everything is done except for final five more games, five more championship games coming up on Sunday, and or was it six games? Either five, I think it's five games on
It's
Sunday,
five. Yeah.
and then the field will be announced 6 p.m. Eastern time or so. Uh, it was an exciting game, lots of championships, so we got a lot to get to here. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood. We got Puppet David Griggs over there, David Doran below him. John Salika is in the process of joining us. We'll get his video up here in a second. Uh, News and notes. Any news and notes? I don't have any.
Anybody get? Yeah, nobody got fired today,
Well, there,
fortunately.
there's a few in the smaller conferences. You didn't hear anything in the major
Oh, Rick
conferences making them.
Stansberry resigns
Yeah.
from Western Kentucky. Rick Pitino's been offered 27 jobs. All in the Big East. All 27 in the Big East.
And he's taking most of them.
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
Let's get right to our conference tournaments here. Let's see if we can get the screen share to work correctly today. That is not where I want to start. I want to start over here in the ACC. It was ACC championship game today. Duke and Virginia. Dorman Duke, very impressive, I thought.
Duke, very impressive. Filipkowski is playing at an All-American level. He is just basically unstoppable. He's got an outside game where he can hit threes. He's big enough down low. He's strong enough down low. He's a much better player than he was 2 months ago. And I really, as he's gotten better, the players around him have gotten really strong. Roach at the point guard for Duke was really good this tournament and just came through for some really big plays. Virginia started to get close a few times, and Roach said, and he just made sure his team wasn't going to lose. I love Bennett's team. I think they're fantastic. They can go a far way, but Duke was better tonight.
And,
I
and, and Griggs, how about
Wow.
this Duke profile now? We made a
Very
case
good.
during our mock committee that this team should be out of the four line.
And here's what is unbelievable to those that have followed us all year long. I agreed with it. They beat three tournament teams away from home, one solid protected seat away from home in Virginia. And I don't think it's an issue of them playing up on one given day. I think it's an issue that they are up, and it took them a while to get there. It took them about till mid to late February, but they are there now. And I think their profiles here too. They had the chances that they needed, but when you beat Virginia, Miami, who we also have seated pretty high, and Pitt, who we have in the field, that look at how good this profile looks now, and look at how good they looked on the court. All those wins by double digits, by the way, against really good teams.
Yeah, it was really good. Salika's not quite back, or maybe he's waiting. Maybe Salika's waiting until after we do this next conference before he comes back. He's a Xavier guy, and Griggs, they kind of no-showed against Marquette in the Big East championship game tonight.
Yeah, I think it was 32 to 11 at one point, or 31 to 10. Marquette just sprinted out of the gate, and Xavier never really caught up. Kind of a disappointing and frustrating day for Xavier, especially after looking so good, certainly in the semifinals. Not so much against DePaul, but I was more impressed with Marquette, and really have been for a long time, than I was disappointed in Xavier. This is a really good Marquette team, and they just poured it on the day. This team can
Yeah,
go far.
And our mock
yeah.
committee put this team on the two line, and I think that this is exactly where the real committee is going to do with this team tomorrow as
Yeah.
well. I,
Yeah.
just think they should
I
agree with
knocked.
you.
Yeah. I agree with you guys. I knocked their defense. I love their offense. I knocked their defense during the year. This weekend in New York in the Garden, they played their defense, showed up. Their defense was extremely impressive.
Salika, any thoughts on the game now that you joined us?
Yeah.
I think it was a good defensive practice for Xavier. Just completely ignore what they did on offense throughout the championship here.
Let's keep going here, Sleeka. Let me stick with you because we had the Big 12 championship game. It was close for a while, but then Texas kind of put their foot down, despite the fact that they were a little bit shorthanded. A 20-point final win over KU.
Of course, another interesting factoid is neither of the coaches that started the beginning of the year were present on the bench. Obviously, with Chris Beard being fired and Bill Self having to go through a medical procedure, but at least Self will be back on the bench for the NCAA tournament for the Jayhawks, we hope. But it's also a big win for Texas, and that this will likely vault them up to the #1 seed line in a number of brackets.
Yeah, and we did in our mock committee. We'll show it at the end here, but one of the last things we did, we seriously considered Texas, and we'll show at the end of the show whether they made it there for a one line, as well as Kansas. Griggs, I know they were without their head coach, but I don't think they're the #1 team overall anymore.
No, and still on the one line, still a fantastic year, still a really good team, but yeah, I don't think they're the #1 overall team anymore. And everybody that's been watching us for a while knows that I've been banging the drum for Texas. We'll see if they get all the way up to the one line tomorrow, I guess. But what a win! I mean, they won. I think it was 15 Big 12 wins. That's as many as Kansas had by the time it was over, and they beat Kansas twice, including a blowout win today.
Dorman, you're our Pac-12 guy, and you are an Arizona guy, and what a game and what a finish for your Wildcats, Pac-12 tournament champions.
Fantastic finish. Courtney Ramey hit a huge three to give them the go-ahead lead, and they didn't relinquish it. UCLA had a shot at the buzzer to win, but it went off the front of the rim. Fantastic game back and forth. The offense wasn't beautiful, but it was a slug it out Arizona-UCLA rivalry, high intensity NCAA tournament. Regional Final Four game intensity atmosphere. Las Vegas, the T-Mobile Center was absolutely rocking. I expect both these teams to be on the 1 and 2 lines tomorrow, and both have big dreams of a championship. UCLA down a man and maybe two. I've said it before this week. It hurts them defensively. It really does. He's a lockdown. I can't think of his name right now. It's
Jaden Clark.
Thank you. Clark is a lockdown defender. He is amazing on the perimeter. He guards the opposition's great guards and scores, and he is going to be missed next weekend.
Yeah, and
it even had a blow-by handshake at the end, and it wouldn't be UCLA Arizona otherwise.
Yeah, UCLA probably can't get the one line now. I mean, I think it'd be they got an outside shot at it, but I think they're probably on the 2 line. Arizona, good shot at being on the 2 line as well. We can see both these teams, in fact, as 2 seeds tomorrow. Would not shock me. At worst, it's 3 seeds. Griggs, it was the Mountain West Conference Championship game between San Diego State and Utah State, and Utah State was right there, but did not get the win. San Diego State, we all knew was going to be the field no matter what. Now Utah State, they might be sweating some tomorrow.
I think they'll be sweating. I do like them on the court a little more than what their paper looks like. I know that we've been beating up, well, one guy in particular has been beating up this conference pretty bad, but you know, if you think San Diego State is a solid 6, which I think we all do, then Utah State being able to stay right with them probably indicates that they're at least an 11. I think they belong in as far as the generic 34 best goes, despite not having the big profile. But you made a point, Chad, if you wanted to pull up the profile and pretend that it isn't Utah State, but that it is Hofstra or, you know, Florida Atlantic or Akron or somebody like that, people would be gushing all over this.
Right, because if this was the profile, now remember there are 2 bad losses down here, but still,
Yeah.
if this was the profile of a real true under the radar program, this would be everyone's darling. But since it's Utah State, kind of one of those mediocre in between conferences, you know, everyone just wants to bang them, but they've got some metrics here, and I'm not a huge metrics guy, but they're just through the roof. The 18 net, the 11 KPI, the 18 Ken Palm. So it's both in the resume and the predictive metrics that are loving them. I don't see this team left out, but I do see them. I do see the lack of any real wins against anybody that's solidly in the field here. Now Boise State probably going to be in, not definitely going to be in. I see that probably knocking them down to a double-digit seed, maybe even sending them to Dayton.
Yeah.
I see the Mountain West getting 3 bids. I see Boise State, San Diego State comfortably in. And if you watch the Utah State play basketball, they play the part. This is one of the country's top teams that I believe will get an at-large bid. I think this team's extremely strong. They were right there today with San Diego State, and I think they'll be included in the field come tomorrow night.
All right. Stalika, we had a potential bid thief situation in Conference USA if UAB had been able to upset Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic really struggled in their semifinal. Not the case today, though.
They were not going to let Jelly Walker beat them again like they did down in Birmingham. So teams like Rutgers, Utah State, all sending gift baskets to Florida Atlantic for holding on to the auto bid in Conference USA.
And how dangerous, Griggs, is this FAU team once they get in? I mean, we're looking somewhere between the 7 and the 10 seed line, I think, for them.
I think very. I think they're particularly dangerous in the round of 64. By the time they get past that point, assuming they're playing a protected seed, I think they're swinging a little bit over their head. But this team had a really good year, and you kind of have to look at the profile and, peel back the onion a little bit to see it, because it isn't necessarily quad ones that jump out at you, but they were everybody's showcase game in conference when they went on the road. There's a lot of decent teams in Conference USA, like UAB, like North Texas. Just to name a few. Middle Tennessee's another one where it's hard to win on the road. Charlotte's another one, and they managed to do it all but one time. I think they only had 3 losses all year. What they did was hard to do, and they deserve to be, and they should be in the 7-8 range.
With all due respect, I hate onions. I'm allergic to onions, and I want to fire them into the sun.
Okay, I do as well.
Okay, I don't know where this conversation just went. I don't know why we're talking about what we're allergic to. Dorman, America East Championship game. This started off the day, and Lola was in there for a while, but then Vermont did go ahead and get that W and back in the big dance again.
Back in the big dance, Burlington was rocking this morning. But like you said, UMass Lowell was in the game well in the first half. They hit some big shots. They pushed Vermont, but too much Vermont, too much catamounts in the second half. They hit a big 3 and got fouled. It was a 4-point play with about 3 minutes to go. That sealed the victory. The Catamounts will be dancing.
They'll be dancing and losing in the first round. Griggs, a team that may not be losing the first round, got the auto bid out of the Big West. UC Santa Barbara pulled away late from Fullerton.
Yeah, real impressive showing both in the semis and the finals. And then the way that they pulled away from Fullerton to get the win, 27 regular season wins, the most ever for that program. And this program's had some good teams in the past. I don't know where they're going to land, probably the 13 or 14 range, probably overmatched, but not so much to where they don't have a chance.
Stalika in the Metro Atlantic, Rick Pitino is back in the big dance, although the last place Marist Red Foxes had this game, came back and tied this game in the second half before Iona put their foot down.
That was right about the 10 or 9 minute mark, and then as you noted, Iona just got rather angry. They weren't messing around anymore, and they just closed out with a 21-point surge, and Rick Pitino will be going back to the tournament.
Yeah, he may not be coming home with his team. He may be going somewhere else after they're done playing. Yeah. But for now, he is probably going to the tournament with the Iona Gals.
Yeah, how funny would that have been at the press conference today? I'm glad to be back in the NCAA tournament, and I'm glad about my new job.
Dorman, Mid-American Conference Championship game. We expected a good game, and you know what? I mean, most of this tournament ended up being full of blowouts at the end of the day, including the championship game at the end.
Yep, Kent State held Toledo at arm's length the whole way with about 4 minutes to go. They put on another 5-6 point surge, got it up to 10, and at that point, Toledo was done. The MAC is a better conference than they have been in the last 4 or 5 years. This is better basketball. Kent State has a real chance in the round of 64, depending on the matchup. They are not big down low. So if you get a team that's guard-oriented, they can hang with them. We'll see who the matchup is, but I really like the Golden Flash here.
Yeah, Kent State a real good defensive team, but if they can put up if they can score in the round of 64 like they did today, they can beat anybody.
Yep.
Yeah. This was a team that, even though they were the 2 seed, they led the conference most of the for a good portion of the season. And quite honestly, I think I like this Kent State team better than Toledo. And I think they're the most
I do
dangerous
too.
team coming out
Yeah,
of this conference.
I
Uh,
do too. Very dangerous.
in the MEAC, we had a hell of a championship game between Howard and Norfolk State, where Howard was down 4 with about 15 seconds left, hit a 3, immediately got a turnover, got fouled, pair of free throws from Jelani Williams, a missed shot at the end by Norfolk State, and the Howard Bison, for the first time since 1992, back in the NCAA tournament. Salika, how about this team, and are they on their way to Dayton?
Probably on the way to Dayton, but wherever they go, Gus Johnson will be following them.
Gus Johnson, a Howard alum, but congrats to Howard, the best team in the District of Columbia by far.
Yeah.
Georgetown. Yeah.
GW American. They are. They're yeah.
Griggs, how about the SWAC championship game? I was patting myself on the back for correctly picking Grambling over Texas Southern in the finals, but I didn't quite get there. Grambling was not able to finish off the huge comeback.
Yeah,
Actually,
Texas,
I think they did tie it up after being down big, but then
did.
Texas Southern got the win. Yeah.
Yeah, and Texas Southern jumped out early. Grambling had to fight back to get back in it, and it looked like when they did draw even, I thought, okay, here we go, Grambling's on their way. But Texas Southern holds on. They won 3 games in this tournament, all pretty exciting games, and they had to win a game, or was it 2, the last week of the season just to get the 8th spot there. So, this was about their 5th straight elimination game, I think.
And on top of that, this team going in with 20 losses into the NCAA tournament, which I believe is either the record or ties the record. I also think there's a good chance they're going to be matching up with Fairleigh Dickinson or Southeast Missouri, probably FDU in a game in Dayton. I think this team is going to win that game. I think this team is going to be getting out of this round of 64. Sorry, out of the first 4 and into the round of 64.
Yeah.
They are playing very good basketball.
They really are. Yeah, and I don't know where this came from. Good grief.
They were injured.
Johnny Jones.
And this,
Back in.
and there was a lot of injuries all throughout the season here. They are healthy at exactly the right time.
Yeah.
Dorman, last championship game for the day that we got to get to is the WAC championship that just finished before we started this, and Grand Canyon, kind of looked like Utah Valley did against Southern Utah, except they didn't allow the comeback.
The Lopes led from start to finish. They jumped out to a 12-point lead about 8 minutes in, and they never gave it up. They weren't going to let Southern Utah back in the game. I felt Southern Utah looked a little tired. I really did. They tried. They wanted to fight to get back in, and I just felt they were dead. The legs, their shots were short a lot. They didn't have the energy like they had last night. I felt they put so much energy into coming back last night. And then you have to, you're up late and you got to come down and relax. And physically, your bodies are just drained. And I feel like they really hurt them. But take no credit away. Grand Canyon is a formidable opponent. I think they'll be on the 15 line. And if the committee has a sense of humor, maybe Grand Canyon Baylor, Drew versus Drew.
Bryce versus Scott. That would be a heck of a fun little game there if it happens. It was Big Ten semifinal day, and Salika, starting with the first game, Ohio State actually jumped out early on Purdue, but Purdue had a big run right before a 21-5 run to close the first half, and took over in the second half. And Zach Edey, amazing, 32 points, 14 rebounds in this game today.
And this was also one of the last bid thieves that was still lurking in the weeds, but Ohio State, their season is going to mercifully come to an end.
Now, Purdue, Griggs tomorrow gets Penn State, who did it again.
Yeah, they did, and they ruined a third Indiana-Purdue game. What would have been a fun rivalry game leading into the selection show.
Indiana had a huge run late. They almost actually caught up at the last minute, but not quite enough. But what about this game, though, Griggs? Purdue, Penn State tomorrow, the championship.
I like how both of them are playing. More so Penn State. Purdue, as you mentioned, not all that impressive today. I thought that they played well against a Rutgers team that fought really hard yesterday, but I think Penn State might win this.
Really?
I'm gonna pick them. Yeah.
All right. I think I mean you might be right. You might be right. Dorman, SEC semifinal day. Alabama Missouri was close for about a half. Then Bama pulled away. A&M kind of just beat up on Vanderbilt too.
Yes, I'll go to the first game first. Alabama and Missouri. Missouri was in it, like you said, for at least the first half, probably 25 minutes. Alabama too much to me down low. Their strength showed. If they were missing a shot or two here, they were getting the offensive boards. Missouri is an interesting team going into the tournament. They'll clearly be in the field. We'll see where they're seated. I think this Alabama team is finding their stride again. I know it's emotionally been a rough ride for them with all the off the court issues, but they seem to be able to put that aside when the game comes on, and they really have taken it to whoever's in front of them. And I'll let someone other take the other game, but should be a fantastic game. I think Bama has too much tomorrow morning.
Yeah, A&M beat up on Vanderbilt, Stalika. Vanderbilt probably not going to get in the tournament. We don't think.
You
It
got a
seems to
case.
be more of a 50-50 proposition. I don't believe our committee did not take Vanderbilt right here. Of course, I guess getting somewhat blown out today does leave kind of a bad final impression, but man, has it been like a furious month and a half for the Commodores just to get back in the picture.
And who do you like tomorrow, Stalika, though? Alabama versus A&M.
I'm going to go with Alabama right here.
Yeah, I think Alabama's played really good. I think this could be a blowout,
Yeah.
actually. Griggs, American semifinals. Speaking about blowouts, we had a pair of them as Houston and Memphis both said there's not going to be any bid thief in the American either. The biggest story here may be Marcus Sasser, who left with a groin injury for Houston.
Right. And I think his prognosis is good, at least as far as the NCAA tournament. He may not play tomorrow, but yeah,
I would not
mean,
let him play tomorrow.
I
Absolutely
wouldn't
not.
let him because I don't think it matters. Houston was the first place team. Houston has already beaten Memphis twice. I don't think they helped themselves by beating them a third time, and I don't think the committee dings them if they fail to do something for a third time that they've already done twice. I wouldn't even let them play. Anyway, if the next question, who wins? The last time they played, it was down to the wire, last second shot. That was at Memphis, though. I think Houston goes ahead and wins it and gets it done. If
Even without Sasser.
even without Sasser, if Memphis does win, how much does that change the complexion of their profile? And is this one of those contingency situations where the committee submits two brackets, which they do?
I don't think so. I just think it's the late game. They don't want to get into it. They're going to put Memphis in the field. We've heard this. We've seen this before. The late games and even a lot of the games on Sunday just don't seem to matter to the committee. It's like they didn't even play. They didn't even take it into account. I don't see Memphis getting a big jump if they win this game tomorrow.
The reason I think they might, though, is because of how much it changes the complexion of this profile. Go ahead, Chad.
Well, I was just going to say one way we could find out tomorrow is should Alabama, well, regardless of what, should Houston lose this game, and if they end up number 3 overall, behind Kansas, I think that means that they do take this game into account because I think this Houston team should probably be number 1 overall, worst case number 2 overall behind Alabama heading into tomorrow. But also, I don't know how much does Memphis go up a seed line? They might, but I do agree with Dorman that there is. Are they really going to want to submit probably 4 brackets? They would say who wins Purdue and Penn State as well, or are they just going to?
I don't think they'll do one for. Well, maybe if Penn State wins, because
but is there an argument with Purdue wins that they're a 1 seed and maybe Texas is down on the 2 line? So I think you got the same thing going on there in the Big Ten, Griggs. I think you really do.
I think Houston and Purdue both end up on the 1 seed tomorrow, whether they win or lose.
Let's go back here to the. Stalika, 8-10, it was semifinal day, and after all that, we end up with the top 2 seeds, VCU and Dayton. Fordham Fever is gone.
Well, Fordham Fever also dissipated with a technical foul and a potential dust-up between a couple of players where it looked like an official also got accidentally pushed by a Ram player as well. cooler heads did prevail, but it did seem to take the wind out of the sails for Fordham at least. And
Yeah,
now we're gonna get
it was a late 15-4 run by Dayton in a game that was close the whole way, so that
Yeah.
was kind of rough for the Rams. Griggs, VCU versus Dayton tomorrow. Who do you got?
VCU, but it's going to be a really good game. When I say VCU, I'm thinking I'm more 55-45 for the Rams. I could see Dayton beating them. The two split during the regular year, actually split on the road. So, you know what we used to call the road win exchange program, between Creighton and Wichita State years ago. I think it's going to be a really good game, actually, and it means a lot because the winner gets in, the loser most likely doesn't. And I think VCU in particular has been playing really well and will give a 5 seed fits in the round of 64.
And I think VCU fans are going to be extremely shocked if they lose this game and don't make the NCAA tournament, but that's just the way the VCU fan base is. I don't
Yeah.
think they belong in. Dorman, it was one more conference here. Let's see if we can get it up here. The Ivy League semifinals today. Yale took care of Cornell in a real good game between Penn and Princeton.
Yeah, Penn and Princeton was back and forth the entire second half. Coach Donahue of Penn had his guys ready. He had to play Princeton on Princeton's home court. They clearly had a fan advantage, but Penn brought some supporters. This is going to be a terrific final tomorrow, but I was most impressed today with Yale. Yale took Cornell out of their game. They pressured the ball defensively. I'm taking Yale over Princeton in should be a good Ivy League final.
I'm with you. Salika, you got Yale also, or are you going Princeton?
I'm going to go with the hometown Princeton Tigers here.
Okay. That's it. That's it for tomorrow's games. That's it for today's games. Let's go ahead with a couple other things here. We had our mock committee, though, met today.
Yeah.
Let me blow this up a little bit bigger here.
Busy day.
And what we have here, as you can see, is we did select our final teams in. At the end of the day, our last 4 teams that got voted in were Boise State, Utah State, Arizona State, and NC State. Also voted in today were Rutgers, Mississippi State, Penn State, and Providence. And then we did our initial seeding there. You can see on the right-hand side from Houston all the way down to Texas Southern. There are 71 teams. It should be only 70 right now because I did not have time.
Southern Utah is out of there.
Because with Southern Utah's loss, they will just automatically disappear and everyone will move up. When the Ivy League and the A10 games go final tomorrow, we'll be down to 68. We just kind of seed the extra teams so that they're all in. But Salika, any other thoughts on what we did tonight?
Well, if we're looking at the 4 teams that just narrowly missed the field, that's going to be Clemson, Nevada, Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma State. It is possible that a motion could be made during our final meeting tomorrow to basically consider swapping one of these teams with a team like NC State, who happened to be our very last team voted in. But that is going to be a very difficult motion to pass at this stage.
I might be in favor. I'm not in love with the NC State profile, but we'd have to get it past our entire committee, and it's very difficult to get a team out. Yeah, and just 3 no votes will keep them from getting out. But we also started some of our initial scrubbing of the seed list. Is not done. By the time we finished, we were down around the 10 end of the 10 line, beginning of the 11 line. I think there's going to, Griggs, be some movement as to who our first 4 teams are. Arizona State might be coming out of that first 4 from what our initial discussions were, I think, right?
Yeah, we'll see again tomorrow. We might factor in tomorrow's games. Do we do a contingency for Houston or for Memphis or Penn State if they win? I don't know. We'll see. But a little more to be done. The real committee is probably about where we are. We have no way of knowing. They haven't been answering the phone. I don't know.
Yeah,
why.
they actually did come on TV, and they said that they had, I believe, 8 or 9 seed lines seated initially, and they had all but a couple at-large spots filled, and they had a separate group they have a separate subcommittee that does the bottom of the seed list here. We work on that all together. We think that's one of our favorite parts here, in fact.
Yeah.
So, also, our survival board, as a result of today's games, I don't have yesterday's number. We were just a little under 100, but as a result of today's games, we are down to 82 teams left with a chance to win it all. It will only go down by 2 more. It'll be down at 80 with the Ivy League and the A10 losers coming off. So that will be our final count before the selection show, Griggs.
Yeah, down to 80 teams. So again, from the 80, 32 get in automatically, and then of the rest of the 48, they have to select 36.
Yep. And if you look on this tells the committee what they should be doing if
Yeah.
they haven't done it yet. So there are teams that are crossed off in red there, like let's say Tulane. If they're thinking about whether Tulane should be in, the answer is
No,
no.
they should not be.
If they're thinking about whether or not Iowa State should be in, though, they're in blue and listed as a lock. So that means
They are absolutely in. They have to take them.
okay. And if they're wondering about, say, let's find a team down here. Maybe Utah State. What does
Yeah,
this
that's
tell
a
them?
good. Well, I mean, they have to work on it, and that's probably one of the teams when they came on TV that they hadn't quite selected yet, because again, like there's only so many teams in blue on here, and they probably just haven't finished the other ones.
Okay, so they got to think about those.
Yeah.
That finishes up the show, and nothing else to do, is there?
Oh
Final
no, I
thoughts.
gotta get I gotta get out of here.
Uh,
I'm getting out of here today.
For those of
One
you that
more
are
night.
following,
The
this
last
is his
day.
last chance. Griggs has been locked away squarely in the puppet bunker, and we've been giving him every night a chance to get out. All he has to do is
I've
guess
gotten the questions right every night. I want
guess
you
a
to know.
pair of blind resumes, and I got a couple tricky ones here for you because we really don't want you out, Griggs. Uh, See if
Oh,
you
no.
can figure out who these two teams are, left and right.
I
I'm
know
not
who
giving you
the-
any clues even this time because, quite
Mm.
frankly, I think we should leave you in there through the end of the NCAA tournament.
Well, I know who these are. I'm pretty sure. I think it's these are the two darlings. These are the two fevers. This is Youngstown State and Fordham.
No.
What? I got it.
Oh my God, guys. He's right.
Oh,
I'm getting out of
my
here.
God.
Finally, I got it right.
Oh, congratulations, Griggs. We really thought you were going to be locked in.
too bad no one has the keys, but
No
Wait,
one-
hold on.
no one has the keys.
Hold on a sec. Hold on a second.
Chad, get me out of here.
Oh,
Chad, get me out of
Salika,
here.
anyone
Don't look
see
at
the
me.
keys? Oh,
No,
I don't-
I never saw him.
What did you do
That's
with
what-
them after you locked me in here?
well, I didn't
It's
figure it
one more
out, so
time.
I
What do
threw,
you-
I
I got
threw,
the
I threw them
answer
in that
right.
there was that big round box that was sitting there that
That was
said,
the garbage, you idiot.
got good news for you, everyone. Griggs is still in the puppet bunker. Let's go to final thoughts. Salika,
One of the Easter eggs that we're going to be looking for in the next 2 days is going to be the 2023 AC8 field. I have an inkling that two of the teams are probably going to be our Stallings and Centenary Award winners, but I'm really curious to see what other prizes Chad has up his sleeve for this one. And will any games actually be played in 2023?
our famous AC8 tournament. Yep. Dorman, your final thoughts.
Yes, if you don't know him, All-American forward from Penn State, Jalen Pickett is a absolute pleasure to watch. He is amazing and awesome, and he uses his body better than anyone in the game, in the college game. Watch him tomorrow in the final. He's great. And I'm going to give you two teams that if there is a shocker on the bracket, I got two schools that might be the shockers. I do agree with our committee and what we came up with. Two teams, though, that might shock everyone and become on the bracket: North Texas and Nevada.
Ooh, North Texas would be a huge shock.
Yeah,
Nevada,
I would love it.
Nevada would not be a total shock to me, but I could see it happening. Griggs,
For the most part, especially if a team's coming from a multi-bid league, if they're on the bubble and their bid gets stolen, I tend to think that's more on them than the team that stole it. And I'm probably not going to agree with everything the committee does tomorrow. I almost never do. I don't think anyone ever does. But like rarely do I feel like it was like somebody that should have been a 6 or a 7 seed that got left out. And rarely do I think, with the exception of maybe once or twice, that it was a team that was nowhere near the discussion that didn't at least have a case. I mean, it seems like every year everybody reacts to something the committee did is like the biggest miscarriage of justice in the history of sports. But I still think that at the end of the day, it's a 30+ game season. If you're on the bubble, you had a chance to get inside of it. If you're outside of it, you had a chance to get on it. I don't typically feel sympathy for people that don't get selected, even if it's a team that we ourselves selected.
I agree. And at this point in time, though, I do want to thank everyone for joining us. We are not done for the season by any means, even though we're done with our video notebooks. We will be back again, not tomorrow, got the night off. Monday night, though, we're going to be doing our NCAA tournament preview show. We'll have one show each week throughout the tournament. So check back in Monday night. We'll be reviewing the bracket, telling you our thoughts on what the committee did. We will be giving you our picks as to who's going to win it all. We'll even be filling out a bracket on the show. And most importantly, as Salika hit it out, we will be revealing this year's AC8 tournament, sponsored by Hoops HD. It's a tournament we've run every year for like 8 or 9 years now. I think maybe it's up there on the top of one of the tabs. Had a little bit of problems. We haven't actually had any games played yet, but this year I got my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
On that note, though, on behalf of David Dorman, John Salika, David Griggs, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you again in just a couple nights.